Where do I start? The reason that Amy had problems getting her kids back is because, first of all, she is still on meth. Made a recording the night that she was literally screaming, "He's gonna kill me." So she didn't like that much. I wouldn't expect she would, and I don't care. There's a reason I don't care. Second reason, the reason that the courts won't allow Amy to have her kids back is because she is an unfit parent. She knew that Rihanna was completely blitzed all the time. She was aware of that, and the courts can prove it, which is why she got to jump through hoops and get sober to get her kids back. She's not willing to do that. Meanwhile, according to Josh Rayborn, he said that those two girls, after a while there, they got pretty used to the place. They like it there. They wrote a letter to the judge saying they don't want to go back to live with their mom. So I did the right thing. It sucks that I had to do it the way that I did. Now, Amy wants to blame everybody who was there, but take no responsibility for herself. Meanwhile, I had no responsibility for those kids. Rihanna knew she couldn't take care of those kids. She told me she couldn't take care of those kids. Thing is, Amy knew that. While I'm there, I'm telling Rihanna what we need to do to be responsible, at least for the time being. And we're waiting on Amy to send the stuff that's needed to get the kids into school, and the cops are coming and harassing us. And the thing is that the cops were showing up for the wrong thing. Rihanna was feeding those girls. She really was. So yesterday I was assaulted by Josh Rayborn. I grabbed my stuff and left. I'm not going to stick around and be assaulted. Anyway, there's a video here. I'm going to press play. This is about close to 4 minutes. This is yesterday after the assault when Josh called me. Now you notice he's talking 40 million miles an hour. That's because he's on methamphetamines. So this is the message with Barb. It's on Sunday. Now, mind you, I've got, like I said, about 70 hours of recordings, and some of those are actually with Barb. Yeah, I keep an eye on the tweakers. Anyway, it says, can you message Amy and tell her Todd came by for the tires but didn't want to take them without Josh here? I don't have her number. Cats are fed and watered. And Barb typed, I suppose I should probably show you that. See if it'll zoom in. And then she sent me one. You need to move your stuff out of my driveway so that way my neighbors can use my driveway, because in order for me to use their internet, I need to let them use my driveway. So please get your stuff out of my driveway. Thank you. Bye. She must have texted that real quick. I typed, yes, ma'am. I have to wait until morning to move it, but it's not a problem. Be safe. Where to move it to is a problem, but moving it out of the driveway is easy. And then let's take a look at Josh and Amy. Let's see. Friday at 6:18. Josh, you home or did you leave with Amy? Because they were both pretty trashed and talking about leaving. All right, they were both extremely trashed. And then, of course, I have this phone here. And yes, I sent him screenshots to show him that I was trying. There's a few screenshots there that I sent him, like literally, I did what he instructed me to do. Take care of the cats, keep his stuff safe. In exchange, I get to plug in. Now, I have some of the conversations are 15, 20 minutes long. Some of them are a few hours long. So I got a lot of them to go to go through before I find the ones where he's giving me instructions and telling me, anytime this happens, if I got to go, watch my stuff, make sure the cats are all right. And Barb was going to do the same thing and help out, but she had to go. Because I didn't have any power there at Rihanna's in Rawlins, Wyoming. She had all the money, she had the housing, she had the vehicle that was licensed and legal and had working taillights. I literally drove from Washington State to Rawlins, Wyoming with no taillights. When I got there, Amy was supposed to do this, supposed to do that, just didn't. Now, the recordings that I have, there's a lot of them. I mean, it shows that Amy still hasn't gotten off the meth. It shows that, well, these are by their own words, even, Josh, one of the things I recorded of him is him telling me his method of injecting, or his method of using meth, and that's injection. He injects it into himself. I was also able to record him asking his friends not to. He said that I don't do anything but weed, so don't offer me nothing, which is pretty cool. I was glad he said that. And all of them, I was recording. A lot of these people are fine with me not even smoking weed, which is cool because, oh my God, I've smoked so much just because. Sorry, there's a train going. Train. I didn't have any say so with those kids. I'm not their parent. I'm not the person that Amy literally dumped her kids on. I'm the dude that ran asked for help. When I got there, I didn't expect to have to try to rescue those kids from Rihanna. I didn't expect for Rihanna to. She was going through a 175 of Captain Morgan daily. She was asking me to bring her alcohol to work so that she could function. Rihanna went through hell in her life. I figured she'd be smarter than that. She's dead now. That's totally fixable, isn't it? Conversations with me and Rihanna proved that I was telling the truth about her being drunk, about Amy just dumping the kids on us. I had to be afraid to call the police. I always have to be afraid to call the police. When you're called mentally ill, when you're autistic, and you have Tourette syndrome, the more nervous you are, the more it comes out, the more likely cops are going to treat you like a friggin' druggie. Or hospital staff. They're not even going to bother checking your blood. They're not going to bother checking when you pee in a cup. They're just going to make a bad assumption and run with it. In the Carbon County Hospital, that was just hell. All I needed was a friggin' hoodie. So I need somebody who's good with computers who can help me with this stuff in person. And there's so much of it. I was just the recordings that I had from the last 2 or 3 weeks. I tried sending them to Daniel so that he could send them to Adult Protective Services, but the file's too big. So I gotta break it down into 2 or 3. I'm sorry, I got a little bit of a headache. It didn't have to be this way. That phone call that I just played for you, that was immediately after the assault. I was maybe a block and a half away from the house, if that. I hadn't even made it to Main Street, so at least he admitted that I followed instructions. That's the thing with dealing with alcoholics and meth heads. It doesn't matter what they say, they're not going to remember it. He showed up just looking for someone to hurt. And he says that none of that happened in Rawlins was her fault. No, she dumped her kids on a serious alcoholic. Going through a 175 of Captain Morgan every day, and she's maybe 98 pounds soaking wet. Yeah, obviously. And Amy knew. Amy knew how drunk Rihanna was. Amy knew that Rihanna was not in a headspace where she could take care of herself, let alone 2 children. The best that I can do is try to do damage control because I don't have any parental rights. And I'm trying to tell Rihanna, who's just drunk as a fucking skunk, I'm like, hey, we got to get these kids into school, so you need to get on Amy and let her know she needs to get on this. I didn't have internet access at the time, or I'd have probably gotten on and gotten a hold of Amy and said, hey, There's some messed up stuff going on here. You need to come get your kids. But the other thing is that Amy was supposed to be going to serve 4 months in jail for her previous meth issues. And that's why she had two of the kids with her mom, who I've spoken to y'all about her drug addiction and her issues, both nurses. I even got Amy recorded one of those conversations talking about how many nurses are on meth. Yes, Amy was a nurse. Yes, she was on meth while she was a nurse. At least two of her kids are in a good foster home. So good that they wrote a letter to the judge. I think I had maybe three foster homes that were that nice. The very first one that I was in, and then two of them in temporary foster care. In temporary foster care, you don't get to go back to the same foster home a second time. They don't want you developing attachment issues. If you can imagine what that's like for somebody who's autistic. I mean, even a child who's not autistic, that's tough to deal with. So I hope that honestly, I hope that her other two kids go to that same foster home. Amy's mom, she's her name is Mickey Spencer. She'll probably be dead soon. She's had cancer a while. Those of you who paid attention to the conversations between Rihanna and I, know this is just repeat. Anyway, now that I got that file isolated, I'm gonna name it because it starts off with numbers and letters, and that's how they designate all of them. So I got to go through them all and write down what the date was and who all's in it. God, it's a lot of editing work. And we're not talking about editing like cutting parts out of the conversations or cutting off the first half or the second half. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I mean, if I fumble through it, there's a possibility, but there's also a possibility that I'll corrupt the file or destroy the file. Or the last time that I tried, there was a lady whose identity I was trying to keep a secret. And the first 5 minutes of the video are with her, and then somebody else called. And when I tried to edit it, the phone call was the important part. And when I tried to edit it so that that woman's name was safe, I ended up cutting off everything except the part that I was trying to cut off. And it was very frustrating because it was already done. I should have made a duplicate of it and changed the name. Because if you don't change the name, I don't know why, but when you make a duplicate of something, it changes them both. Unless you put them both on the same screen. Now, this is all stuff I had to learn trial and error. If you put them on the same screen, then the second one has a 1 in parentheses. That changes the file name a little bit. Now, this one was easy to find. They're on files. This one's called Important Voices 3. I just started filling it up a couple of days ago, and I got on my recording device. I haven't added it on there yet, but my recording device has my conversations with the police today. The thing is, I didn't want to do this the dirty way. I know this is dirty fighting. I learned this the hard way. The Bollingers and the police, they're dirty fighters. If you want to stand up to the police, you got to be as dirty as they are. You want to stand up to the drug dealers, you got to be as dirty as they are. I'm not talking about dirty as in corrupt. I'm talking about lowballing. Nathan Topham. Hey, Nathan. He typed, hey, Sean. The thing is, I love Amy. I really do. To some degree, I can even say that I love Josh, but I don't love being assaulted. Who would? So, the thing is that Important Voices 2, that's the one that I was trying to send to Danny. That's the one that took, I think it was like 36 minutes or something like that. It took over 30 minutes for it just to compress the file. So, if that tells you how much information is in there. The problem is I can't trust the cops in town. Also, the state patrol officer who showed up, I have his recording on here. What I'll probably do is I'll probably pull it out, start recording a video, and just let it play that recording. That's probably the best way to do it. Because I do want y'all to understand that I'm not the only one who's been trying. It's not that we're not trying. Yeah, the police wrote down in my court date that I wasn't trying. When you've made literally thousands of phone calls, I mean, we're not talking about just phone calls to people I know or just phone calls to the police or the public pretenders. I'm talking about all of the phone calls that I've made. For them to say that I made no effort, no, I'm trying the best I can with my technical inabilities. I wouldn't even have this YouTube channel if it wasn't for Amanda Engeline helping me to set it up. Did you know that? And this was my test one. See, I tested on this one before I made my own. I wanted to make sure that it worked and I wouldn't mess it up. Because if I mess it up on mine, it's permanent on mine, and I really needed that. Of course, life is what it is, ain't it? I'm not going to stop fighting for the kids. And when I found out that those kids wrote a letter to the judge saying they wanted to stay at their foster home, they didn't want to go back with their mom, I knew I did the right thing. It was a tough decision because the whole time I'm thinking to myself, all right, what's a more dangerous situation right now? Brianna and her volatility, or the possibility of abuse in the system? It was really bad. Brianna wanted me to be the enforcer, and I'm like, well, see, I don't have the authority to do that, Brianna. You do. I mean, there was one time that the girls were screaming and shouting and hollering and arguing because they wanted to do something, and Brianna had said no. Now, Brianna was very well within her not only right, but also, yeah, those girls should not have left. So I said, hey, if you guys are going to go anywhere, you need to go in a pair and you need to let the adults know where you're going. And Rihanna, drunk as a fucking skunk, she said, no, just let him go. Oh my God. And the whole time, the girls were like, well, could you get a message to my mom? Could you get a message to my mom? Could you send my mom a message? No, I can't. I have no way to get a hold of your mom. I don't have your mom's phone number. Anyway, y'all be safe.